Welcome. We are two life coaches that have decided to get together and talk about this COVID-19 situation. My name is Angela Mize, and I am in Albany, Oregon, on the Western United States. And I have met through my classes and my coaching experience a friend on the other side of the world, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi there, my name's Paul Fouche. I live in Hampshire in the UK, actually about 10 miles north of Portsmouth. And like Angela, I'm a life coach, and I met Angela again through my coaching experience and networking with other coaches. And it's going to be interesting to hear Angela's side of how they're dealing with COVID over in the US. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I'm looking forward to.
Okay. Yeah, we decided that we talk about this a lot, that maybe we should let people hear what we have to say and what's going on with us, because this isn't just a UK, isn't just the US, it's a worldwide. And so we want to plan a few conversations, about these kinds of things. And so we're going to start off with a real simple question, but not really. So Paul, how has your life changed since COVID?
It has changed dramatically and been completely and utterly turned upside down.
Oh yeah.
What started out as a great start to the year with a new job and a company which I thoroughly enjoyed working with. We then got furloughed, and that was the middle of April, with the expectation that we'd be going back sometime in the summer. There was also the novelty of, not the novelty, it was a novelty at first because no one had ever given me so much time off with receiving 80% of my pay.
Right.
Except we were in a lockdown, so there wasn't really anything we could do. Yeah. And then also, I had my stepdaughter come down from London. She moved back home from London. And my wife, she's normally out and about all day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she's now actually lost the job completely. She was self-employed, and what she did, they shut it down. So it sort of turned my life and everyone else's life upside down. It also, suddenly we had 3 people put together who weren't used to being put together. Yeah, I'd be out and about all day or work from home. My wife was out all day normally, and Amy lived in London, and we would see her at weekends and things like that. So we had to sort of learn to sort of live together and sort of tolerate each other's ways,
That must
which
have been
wasn't
difficult.
easy.
Yeah,
it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I think we all had to learn, we all had to learn how to live together and how to actually put up with each other's little foibles and things like that. Sort of. So it wasn't easy, and I think it was like probably a good couple of weeks of getting to understand sort of each other, even though I've been with Jeanette a while, like, like you had to relearn those dynamics and work out new dynamics to your relationships. And then there was friendships also. My life outside of work revolves around music. If I'm not playing music, I'm watching a band in a pub. Yeah. And then suddenly all the pubs are shut. Right. All the gigs are gone. Yeah.
So pubs are very different in England than they are in the United States.
Definitely.
Like the going to a bar in the United States is not the same as going to a pub. Can you explain what a pub really means in England?
Yeah. In England, a pub is almost like a sanctuary. It's a real big place for socializing. And and you'll have like your local pub. Yeah. So my local pub is the Heroes. It's shut. It's been shut all year now.
Yeah.
Since March. And we'll put on bands. You meet up with friends in pubs. They're real big places to socialise. And the only bars I've been in the States are in Florida. Yeah, they're almost like a place you just drop in for a drink and leave.
Right.
Yeah, well, a local, I've got one, the Barley Mow. Yeah, you walk into it, it's like walking into your lounge. It's so comfortable and friendly and nice and quirky. Yeah. So, yeah, pubs play a big role in our communities. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a living room setting, right? You come in, you know, and you meet your friends and you talk and
yeah, it really is. You talk. Yeah, I mean, you have the snug bar, which is like the cozy bar. Yeah. And then you've got a public bar where they normally put the music on and things like that. And then, of course, you have the different, because I'm into music, you have your different band followings.
Right.
Yeah. So you would have a gig on a Friday night and a Saturday night. Yeah. And it'll be a different band Friday night. So you'll meet different people on the Friday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's a different band on the Saturday night. So you meet the follower in that band. Yeah. And you get to know people. So there really are big social things. Yeah.
And so that was just shut down, completely gone.
Gone overnight. Yeah. And you don't know what to do with yourself. You really don't. And it's funny, the sort of journey I went through was, first you like in its novelty, because now I didn't have to go out for work. Yeah, great, fantastic. Yeah. And it was coming into summer, so that was good. So we were starting to get the nice weather. We got the longer evenings, which was nice, you know, sort of and I thought, well, this is great, you know, sort of this is all right. And it was all right for a couple of weeks, and then it got boring. And
well, when did it first start? Was it March when you guys shut down?
it was 23rd of March we shut down.
23rd of March. Okay.
We started working from home as a sales company on the 20th when we locked down.
Yeah.
We only did it for a few weeks because it wasn't really working. And then weird things would happen. It was really weird.
What do you mean?
Well, sort of went through this manic phase of eating everything in sight because you're bored. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we drink. Yeah.
Yeah.
Start drinking in the evenings. And the only times I really drink is probably once a week, perhaps on a Saturday night, if that. And then I don't drink a lot, but start drinking, you know, sort of like not in excess, but just something to do. And then we've got a lot of friends as a couple.
Right.
Yeah. And what would happen is you forget to ring each other. Yeah. You know, sort of like
well, you're so used to seeing him at the pub that you don't have it in your, like it's not something that you remember to do because you would see them.
Yes, exactly. I've got a friend I've been playing guitar with 6 years now.
Yeah.
And he would come round at least once a week, normally on a Saturday, and we'd jam all Saturday afternoon on the guitars. Yeah. And that stopped, you know. And then and I remember I rang him up to see how he was. He went, "Oh, I'm really sorry I've not rung you." He said, it's like you just forget because you're in such a closeted little world. You can't go anywhere. The only places we could go would be, you could go to get essential shopping. So you go to a supermarket, dental or medical treatment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was it. Oh, 1 hour's exercise a day.
1 hour exercise a day? So you can only be outside for 1 hour?
Yeah. You could sit in your back garden.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that was really difficult, and it was for Jeanette, was not being able to have your family round. Yeah. I mean, my son's 100 miles away in Essex, but Jeanette, all right, she had Amy here, which she was really happy with.
Yeah.
But she missed her other one, Kimberly. Yeah. And that was difficult. really difficult. So yeah, it was a real tough thing. And then I thought, oh, perhaps I could use this as some opportunities here.
Yeah.
So I started playing guitar online, 1
Yeah.
hour a week. Sort of works, but with the lags and that you get over the internet, it's just not the same. And then I decided I'd lose 28 pounds
Yeah.
and get fitter. So I did that. That took me about 8 weeks, and that was good because I sort of set a routine each day and kept to it. That was quite good.
So how did you come up with these ideas? You know, what prompted you to say, oh, I'm going to lose 28 pounds or I'm going to
What
go
brought me to
online?
lose 28 pounds as I got on the scales and I was 15 stone.
Ah,
Well, I'm like, absolutely no way. Yeah.
yeah.
So I said, right, I'll go on a diet. I went on a low carbohydrate diet, restricting myself to 1,200 calories a day. And I'm really lucky. My son's a fitness instructor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I sort of spoke to him. I said, can you put me in something I can do at home? He said, what equipment have you got? We've got an exercise bike and I've got a couple of weights, but nothing much.
Yeah.
Leave it with me. And he did. Yeah. So, and it was a different activity each day. And you had 1 day a week off, which was Sunday. He said, do what you like on Sunday. He said, stick to this during the week, which was really good. And it was all stuff that I could do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which was quite good.
So in the beginning, when you had that extra weight on, how did you feel?
I didn't feel good at all.
No.
No, I felt really, really bad about myself. And I just like, this can't go on. You know, this is no good.
And so what made you say, I know you said you looked at the scale and said, oh my gosh, you know, but what made you decide I got to do something and I'm going to do something?
Because if I got COVID, there was a good risk I could die from it.
Mm.
Being obese is not good. I was actually obese. Yeah. And that's not good. I'm also a diabetic, a type 2 diabetic. Excuse me. So that's not good either. And what it was, there was a number of things. There was the thing on the scales, oh my goodness.
Right.
Yeah. And then I was more about COVID, and then the death toll started going up. And it was, you know, people who were old. Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, 60s, 70s, 80s. And then people who had underlying health conditions like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it said obesity is playing a factor in this. And I think it was the fear of that prompted me to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it absolutely scared the living daylights out of me. The only time I've been as scared is when I had a heart attack and I smoked. Yeah. And I went cold turkey straight away because I was that frightened. Yeah.
So you were that frightened of COVID, you know? And do you think that was nationwide that people were that frightened?
I think they were.
Yeah.
I think they were. You get the odd ones that, oh no, I'm not bothered. If I get it, you know, and all.
Right, yeah.
Whether that was bravado or not, I don't know. But this was a whole new ball game. None of us alive in the world today have ever been through anything like this.
No, this is new. Yeah.
Yeah, totally new experience. So there was lots of information, whether it was true or not. Yeah, you didn't know what was right, what was wrong. I think the government here handled it pretty badly.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough information, and it was almost like mainstream media led.
Yes.
The press likes nothing more than fear.
Right. That's very similar here. I mean, you have the press, you have different press junkets, and they would say completely different things, you know, and if you do this, you'll be all right. If you do that, you'll be okay, you know. it's, it was just so many different variables that you didn't know who to believe or who to listen to.
It's an interesting point you bring that up, because I would see what was happening in the States,
Yeah.
and it was almost like what we had over here. We were leaderless. I watched what your president was doing, and it was like, hang on a minute, no, this is real, yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought you had poor leadership, yeah, I really
Yeah.
did. And we had the same with Johnson, and unfortunately we're still stuck with Johnson. Well, we are,
Yeah, I know.
and you could see the countries that were being well led. Yeah. You take New Zealand,
Yeah.
they just shut down, boom, we're shut down hard.
Right.
Yeah. And they were led all the way. Yeah. Sort of like, it was actually, South Korea. Yeah.
Well, it's South Korea, you would have been shot. So there was a little bit of a difference there.
No, you wouldn't have been shot in South Korea. North Korea, you would.
Well, they were still, yeah.
South Korea's a very good democracy, sort of, and you take Brazil. Look what happened in Brazil.
Yeah, Port-au-Prince.
And Bolsonaro, the president there. Oh no, it doesn't exist. Yeah, and then suddenly he gets it. It's the same here with Boris Johnson. Oh, we'll all be all right. We'll take it on the chin, and it nearly killed him. And then Trump's going, no, it's nothing. Sort of blah 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 blah, and then he got it.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think it was a very good example of leadership from any of those leaders. Yeah.
Well, as it goes, I mean, in the worldwide, there are no, as you said before, there's nothing like this. There's no precedent, and so when the leaders don't know what they're doing or don't know how to do this, there's nothing to go back on and say, okay, well, they did this in the past. Yeah.
I actually think economies and money were put before people. COVID cost me my job. I was made redundant back in the end of July, beginning of August, and I've not worked since. And I see people in America where, and I understand it because your constitution, your freedoms and things like that, and I know you hold those things so dearly, yeah. But when you see, and we had it in Britain with the Black Lives Matter things and all the other protests,
right,
yeah, and they're protesting, they're not got masks on, and things like that, and I think it's just all wrong because it just puts those of us who are making the sacrifices, and none of us like it,
right,
it just undoes the work we do. And then you've got the people who think, oh, it's all a hoax. I was talking to someone the other night.
Yeah.
They messaged me saying that the whole thing was designed by Bill Gates. Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
Who owns AstraZeneca. Yeah, which he doesn't. Yeah. And he's doing this so he can make billions out of this virus, out of the vaccinations.
Okay.
And therefore now control the population by vaccinating them. And I'm like, that's absolutely cloud cuckoo land. It really is. Yeah.
I didn't catch that. Oh. Could you try again?
That was my watch. It didn't catch what I said. And you're like, and the press doesn't help. Yeah.
Yeah. I find myself very, isolating from the press. I really find them depressing. I find them over exaggerating. I find them misinformation. I would rather not know what's going on than listen to them. I mean, and that's bad. I mean, that's really not a good situation to be in,
but I understand it because I've been there.
Yeah.
I get it.
I
Have
mean,
you?
well, the amount of stress that they induce,
Mm.
you
Oh,
know?
absolutely, absolutely. You know, have you been on the Harvard University website?
Not lately, but I have been there.
They have got some really good factual stuff about COVID.
Mm-hmm.
There's two sources I go to now. Imperial College London.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of their COVID study. So every day there's a little app, I report how I am.
Yeah.
They've got some really, really, really good empirical data on stuff. Yeah. So it's proper data, it's good data. You know, it's got the scientific measure in it that you want. And the people who are talking on it are really qualified, and Harvard's the same. Yeah. The press here, every night we would be galvanised at 5 o'clock for the evening news on the BBC
Mm-hmm.
for how many cases and how many deaths.
Right.
You know, and it was frightening. You know, and we'd be like, what? You know, sort of, and the press would say this and the press would say that. And like you, I've got to the stage now where I'm sick and tired of COVID.
Right. Well, and then we've just found out that some of the agencies are, when they report the COVID tests or the COVID deaths, they weren't necessarily reporting the same way. So they're changing the way that they're reporting them. And that in Oregon, they just did that, you know.
So when you say,
uh-huh.
because it's different in the States, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, you've got federal,
Right.
which is nationwide, isn't it? And then you've got state.
Yes.
So you have federal law and state law, and you have federal agencies and state agencies.
Correct.
So they're all reporting differently.
Well, the states, yes. The states are, and then the states are, because there's no national reporting agency, you know, there's no COVID type of national, unless they've got one and then they're not discussing it. But each state is responsible for reporting what's going on, you know, and each state is responsible for the shutting down their state, you know.
Right.
And so we're shut down because our state shut down, but our new shutdown is in coordination with 2 other states. So the governors of the states have concluded that they're going to shut down California, Washington, and Oregon, you know, which are all the Western states.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're all in lockdown at the moment.
Yes.
Until when you come out of that.
Well, until the numbers start to improve. They actually did a deadline, and the deadline's come and gone. They did it for 2 weeks, and we're still increasing in numbers. So we may be in shutdown until after the Christmas.
That's crazy,
Yeah.
you know, but it's what's the alternative? It is what's the alternative? You know, I mean, we've just come out of a lockdown, although it's no different where we are now. Or you can go to a gym and you can get your hair cut and you can do this and do that.
Right.
I don't feel confident in going out to those places.
Well, my family is high risk. You know, my husband has cancer. I have autoimmune disease, you know, so does my son, you know. So to be exposed or go to the store is, we all just went through a cold. And it was because my son went to the store real quick and picked up something and then came home and he brought a cold home, you know, and it's just that simple. You know, if it was COVID.
Do you have to wear masks in your stores?
We have to wear masks. Yeah. And they have sanitizer at the doors.
Yeah, we have all that. Yeah. we do have the sanitary doors, the trolleys are sanitised,
Yeah.
we wear masks. I mean, I've been unwell. I've not tested positive for COVID. There's a few times, and I think what's made me unwell is what we're going through, is the stress of it.
Right.
You know, sort of, I'm a people person. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I know you
what.
are.
Yeah. And it's absolutely killed me not being around people. Yeah.
Well, this kind of thing works for a certain amount, but then it just doesn't do the whole, it doesn't satisfy the extrovert completely, you know? And
no, it doesn't. I think the other thing also is before I was made redundant from my job, in the morning it was like, we're all going back in September, we're all doing this, and I thought, great. Yeah, absolutely great. And in the afternoon, I'm being told I'm made redundant, and that sort of turned me upside down again. You know, sort of, and I think it's almost like it's all disjointed expectations.
well, you're promised one thing and then something else happens.
Yeah,
you know.
And I've had days of dark depression. Yeah, where I've had to drag myself out. I've had days where I've genuinely just not felt well. You know, sort of, and then you sort of, now we're getting into the winter now, and we're really starting to get into the winter. Yeah, and it's cold, it's dark early, and that.
Right.
And it's like, where do you go? What do you do? In the summer, yeah, I could sit in my back garden. That's great. Yeah. And I enjoyed that. I'd be out there 11 o'clock at night, nice and warm. Yeah. And I'd do silly things like, okay, I'll watch for the International Space Station to come over.
I've done that here, actually. We can see it here. Yeah.
I'm in awe of it all the time. Yeah. And then I'd spot the planets. Yeah. Or just sit and listen. Yeah, because it's dead of night. It's quite interesting just to sit and be still. Yeah, and that's all right in the summer. And then we sort of came out of lockdown, and the world started not going back to normal, because we're nowhere absolutely ever going to go back. I don't think, to the way we were.
You don't think so? You don't think we're going to go back? So what do you think? What do you think is going to be different?
There'll be more people working from home for a start.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I've worked from home for the last 20 years. And I know I've met companies where they would absolutely not have people working from home, because we want to make sure that the work gets done. Well, the work's got done, guys.
Right.
Yeah. And it's actually proved that if people are working from home, they're normally about 15% more productive anyway. Yeah. And their work-life balance is better. So I think that'll be a new norm for a lot of people. I will come out of this with a new appreciation of friends. Yeah, of family. Me and my son have decided we won't be getting together over Christmas.
Oh, that's going to be rough.
Well, it is what it is. But you see,
that doesn't make it any different than being rough. You know, it is what it is, but it can be rough as well. See, that's to me, that is the British attitude. It is what it is, right? But it doesn't acknowledge that it's rough or difficult.
No, I suppose it doesn't. I think I'm calling them the 5 days of madness here. They're going to lift all the restrictions at Christmas.
Really?
So you can go around and see your family. You can't go to the pub and all that, but you can go and see your family, do this, do that, do everything. And I can see what's coming. What'll happen is everyone will go mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. The infection rates will go up, and we'll have another lockdown in January. And I pray that I'm wrong. Yeah. I'm glad we've got a vaccine now, and they're going to start vaccinating next week, because that's a way out. what I'm hoping for is that they educate people really well on these vaccines. And I've heard the talk around them and stuff like that. But I'm looking for someone somewhere, yeah, to take up a leadership thing somewhere. And I mean, I like the fact that you've got, is it Bush, Clinton, and Obama are going to have the vaccine live on TV.
Yeah.
I think that's outstandingly brilliant, and I want our leaders to do the same. Yeah. I also would want to see education on this, because the only way we're going to get rid of this is if everyone who can takes the vaccine, so we get a herd immunity.
Right.
Because there are some people who can't take the vaccine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what happens is then we'll have restrictions because there's unanswered questions. We don't know if the vaccine stops us spreading still. We can't answer that yet. But someone who's got a compromised immune system, your own family, yeah?
Right.
Some of you may not be able to be vaccinated, which means...
Right. Well, I won't be able to be. I mean, I'm allergic to certain vaccines already. So,
okay.
And that's, yeah, when you put out a question, if there's a vaccine, would you take it? And my answer was no, because I have so many reactions to medication that it wouldn't be worth it to me to risk my life not knowing if it was going to be safe.
Then that means it's really incumbent on me to make sure I have that vaccine so I can keep someone like yourself safe.
Yeah.
Because if enough of us take it, we build up that herd immunity, which means people like yourself who can't take it because of health reasons, you're protected. And that's what I'm trying to say to people. Yeah. Think a bit more altruistic. Yeah. And people are naturally selfish. I get it. They're in it for themselves and whatever like. But here is the one time in our lifetimes, yeah, where all of us, yeah, can make a difference for our fellow human beings. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We can all put a hand out. We can all do something. Yeah. That will serve the whole greater good of mankind and womankind. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. It's interesting. The green agendas has really been put forth. Yeah.
Well, I don't appreciate the combination of this illness and politics. It just doesn't seem to me. They should be separate.
I agree.
It actually makes me very angry. I don't know if you could tell the difference in my voice at the moment, but I'm very angry of the fact that they're combining politics with saving people's lives. And there shouldn't be. It should be completely different. We should be saving people's lives no matter what the politics.
Do you know what is interesting? Yeah, I totally agree with you there, because it has been politicized. It's been politicized over here in the States, everywhere. It's been politicized. Now, isn't this interesting? Yeah, they've got a vaccine for this in 9 months. Yeah,
yeah,
because governments got their heads together and threw loads of money at it. Yeah, to get it done. Yeah.
Right.
Scientists had never had so much money to get something done. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the whole thing's something like £100 billion it's cost to start getting all these. And there's probably going to be a good 10 vaccines come out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of like, which is great. Yeah. But why just don't they have the same enthusiasm? Yeah. To eliminate poverty, eliminate hunger, suffering, homelessness. Yeah, why? Because it's not good for the capitalists. That's why.
Yeah.
This is great for the capitalists because they'll all make money off it in the end. Although a lot of the pharmaceutical companies have turned around and said, we'll do it at cost. Yeah. But you've got those disaster capitalists who are absolutely loving what's going on at the moment, and they'll make money out of it, you know, and they bet against their own countries. We've got Brexit going on here, and the disaster capitalists, yeah, have betted, have shorted the pound against a no deal, because if we have a no deal,
Yeah.
the pound will go, yeah, and they'll make loads of money out of it. Yeah, and that's why this should never be, the COVID should never been politicised. Yeah, all right, there's some good come out of it being politicised because all the governments have got together. But I would love them to just get together on everything. See what can happen if people come together. You know,
Well,
and for
well,
yeah, go on.
you and I started a business during COVID.
Mm,
Yeah. And you and I started doing life coaching during,
yeah,
we started our training. And I don't, if I remember correctly, we both saw the need that people were having of,
yep,
they just were lost, they were
yep,
hurt, they
yep,
didn't know where to go.
yep,
Yeah. And the type of people that you and I are, um, we're the type of people that want to solve the problem or help, you know, come up
yeah,
with a solution. Yeah.
yeah. I agree. I mean, one of the biggest helps for me is actually being on with you guys once a week, pretty much the whole summer.
Right.
Yeah, because it was people I could also reach out to, like-minded people I could reach out to. Yeah, and I think there is a need for people to reach out. Yeah, speak
Yeah.
to someone. If you're lost and you can't find your way, speak to someone who can potentially help you find your way. If anything, the opportunity to come out of COVID is to grow.
And I know I've grown. I mean, I've learned so much about myself individually. I've learned about the human condition. Uh, there's just so many aspects of this that I think if we choose to, we can make a better society, you know.
I agree.
But I feel like there's so many of us that are lost that this opportunity may fly by if we don't grab it, you know.
I agree. It was interesting. I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago who knows me really, really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he turned around and he said, "You're so different." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You're just so not 100 miles an hour anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you speak, it's an appreciation of things."
Right.
Yeah,
Appreciation of what's happening now.
it's that, and an appreciation of people.
Mm. Yes.
Yeah, it's that. And I know there's people I know who've lost people for this COVID. Yeah. My son had it, and all right, he's young and strong, and he's a fitness instructor, but it's still a worry.
Right.
Yeah, because there's other people's sons who've got it who've died. My son's in his 30s, and it's just a different appreciation of things. Where, yeah, I was caught up with the sort of jobs I did was I used to earn a lot of money, huge amount of money. Yeah, well, I thought it was a huge amount of money. It was actually a lot of money, and it gave me the freedom to pretty much do the things I wanted to do.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I've still got money because I'm a good saver. I may not have a job anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but it's allowed me to focus on the fact that I'm really going to appreciate to be able to do some of the things that I used to do again. Yeah, because that day will come. It's not all about money and what you've got and all that. It's actually probably a bit more about your character. Yeah.
Your priorities have changed.
They have.
Yeah.
Hugely. You know, I say to people, if you're, I do it on my Facebook page, I do it privately in messages, and I say to people, if you are lost, just let me know, and we can have a chat. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've done the same thing. You
I
know,
think it's
if
really
you
important. Really important.
I mean, I started a Bible study because, you know, I feel like there's a group of people, we're not allowed to go to church. You know, we're not allowed to get into small groups, and it's for women, and there's a certain amount of certain population that's all they had. You know, and it was missing, and there's depression is so high, and so learning how to do Bible study on Zoom has been an interesting learning experience.
I bet it has.
Yeah, but it's met part of the criteria that is needed for people that need that interaction.
Yeah, I've got a friend. I was speaking to tonight, funny enough, on Messenger, and she's a wonderful person. Yeah, she's a Christian, and she just doesn't talk it. She really walks that walk. Yeah,
Right.
really does. Absolutely wonderful person, and you know, she's helped me. There was a time in my life I was really struggling. Yeah, and she reached out to me. Yeah, not in any sort of religious way, and just reached out. Yeah, as Jesus would command her to do. Yeah, and you know, it's sort of like that. And she said, it's the biggest thing for her is the fellowship.
Yeah.
And I sort of get it. Yeah, because I used to go to the church she went to, and it's not a church in a traditional sense. It was evangelical, and it was done in a big school hall, massive big school hall. It's fantastic. Yeah, and it really is enjoyable. I used to go. I can't now. It's 100 miles away, but if they were near, I'd go because they were the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Yeah, they weren't really interested in what I had or anything like that. They were just really interested in me. Never forced any of it down my throat. Yeah. And at the time, I wasn't very well because I just had meningitis. I was all over the place.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And they just accepted that and didn't worry about that. Yeah. And just welcomed me so much. Beautiful people. Yeah. Lovely people.
Well, that's what it's all about. You know, it's fellowship is, I mean, when Jesus was here on earth, he fellowshipped with every kind of human being. It didn't matter where they were from. They were prostitutes or tax collectors, or, you know, he didn't hang out with the popular people. I mean, he wanted people to know that you are loved no matter where you are or who you are or what stage of life you're in. You know?
And that's what's missing. I think that's what's missing in people's life. And I don't necessarily want to make it about Jesus or Buddha or Islam or anything like that. But love in general, it's missing.
It is missing.
And compassion's missing. You know, I felt terrible the other day. I was driving past someone. I drove past and just saw out of the corner. I couldn't stop. But there was an old man in a sleeping bag on the pavement just sitting there. And everyone was walking past him like he was blind. And I had to carry on, so I couldn't stop where I was. I just couldn't. I wasn't allowed to. And I'm like, that's shocking, you know, sort of. And I remember one of the most enjoyable things I ever did was same friend. She said to me, and another friend and all. Would you like? They're all females. It's really weird. Yeah, but nothing. Just good friends.
Yeah, yeah.
And they said, we're going ministering this afternoon. We're going to go and speak to homeless people. Yeah. And one of my friends, he was a vet. Yeah, and a lot of homeless people have dogs and all that.
Yeah.
So we met some of these homeless people, and we just talked to them. Yeah. Bought them. We would buy them food and drink. We wouldn't buy them alcohol or anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
We didn't give them money because it could be spent on alcohol or drugs. Yeah.
Right. Right.
We'd give them food. I gave them cigarettes because I used to smoke them. And they smoke, and I know what it's like not to have a fag. It's awful. So some cigarettes, soft drinks, some sandwiches. My friend the vet, if they had animals with them, he'd give the animals a once over and stuff like that. Yeah. And what struck me, there was one woman, Linda her name was, she was homeless, had been homeless for years. Yeah. Was that she said, you're the first person who's spoken to me in a month.
Really?
Yeah. She said, we're invisible. She said, you're the first person who's spoken to me in a month. How sad is that? And that's a real sad indictment on the whole of society, on all of us. So the big thing for me coming out of this will be to be more compassionate
For humans,
with people,
other human beings.
be more compassionate and loving towards people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Show people some compassion. Stop judging people. We're in no position to judge. Yeah.
You never know where you're going to be. You never know where you're going to end up.
Exactly.
So.
My dad always used to say, God bless him, let him without sin cast the first stone.
Yeah.
And that's always resonated with me. And the other thing he used to say is judge that you not be judged, because the judgment you give is the judgment you'll get.
Yeah.
And that's always resonated with me. Yeah. Don't judge. Never judge people. Yeah. Try and walk a mile in their shoes. You don't know what sits behind that. We got Linda's story. Linda was homeless because her husband died, and her husband was everything to her. They'd been married like 26 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she just completely lost the plot, lost the house, everything, and ended up on the street.
It can happen to anybody, and I don't think people realize how close, they can be to being homeless. And this COVID has made that very clear to a lot of people. It's like you lose a job, you lose your house, you lose everything. And they did at one point say, where we're at, that you can't lose your housing because of non-payment. But I think that's soon changing,
Yeah.
So
I think wrong. I think it's interesting now.
Yeah.
That governments have found all this money. Our government's been telling
found
us
all this money.
Found all this money. Our government's been telling us that for the last 10 years there is no money. Yeah, hence why our health service being underfunded, homelessness has gone up, poverty's gone up, and all that. What a load of cobblers. Yeah, because now they've found the money. Now suddenly, because we've got the pandemic and the economies are shutting down, and the billionaires and the millionaires aren't getting their money, they've suddenly found the money for it. Yeah.
Go figure.
And it's like, well, if that's the case, let's just be a bit realistic here. See, France did a great thing. What they did is they said, right, we'll pay the mortgage and rents, we'll pay utility bills. Yeah, if you're not working, you'll have, I think it was €250 a week to buy your food. Fantastic. Yeah.
Right.
Germany has a similar scheme. Yeah. Here, we've just got greedy landlords. And although they said, right, there'll be no evictions for 6 months, they're stacking up. Because if you lose your job, we've got welfare here, but it's not a lot.
Right.
Yeah. And it doesn't pay your bills or anything like that. It just, you couldn't exist on it. It's as simple as that.
Right.
So they've found all this money to do these vaccines. Yeah, they found £22 billion for a track and trace service that doesn't work in the UK. Yeah. However, if they gave every pub in the United Kingdom £100,000,
Uh-huh.
every family, yeah, in England £50,000, yeah, they would still have change out of 4 billion. They would still have change of £4 billion. You can see how I spend all my time.
Yeah, calculating.
Working out numbers because I'm really good with numbers.
Yeah,
You know, sort of like, I mean, we're going to spend £220 billion on Trident, like the nuclear missile thing.
Right.
Why? Yeah, because if I get nuked, I'm dead anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the point? Just so we can nuke the other side? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Well,
Spend that money wisely.
We probably should wrap up. We've been talking for an hour.
We have.
Yes.
And we should do this again.
Yes, we will do this again. And next time you get to ask me questions.
I will.
Yeah. I know you will. You're going to come up with some pretty good ones, I bet.
Some belters.
I'll
let you edit this.
Okay.
Right.
I'll send it to you. But thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. And if you've got any comments, we will appreciate that. And we'll try and answer those. So, all righty. So
Well, good night. Good night.
Good night. Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon from Oregon.
From Oregon, and good night from the UK.
Thanks, Angela. You take care.
Thank you.
Speak soon.